The following presentation of City Cinematheque is made possible, in part, by the support of the French Cultural Services. Visit www.frenchculture.org. Welcome to City Cinematheque, where the art and pleasure of the movies are the subject of serious discussion. I'm your host, Jerry Carlson, and I teach film studies at the City College of the City University of New York. Today, it's our pleasure to present the 1996 multiple award-winning film, Captain Conan, directed by Bertrand Tavernier. This is a story of soldiers on the Eastern Front at the end of World War I and after. It's a stunning portrayal of a part of the world we don't really see on the screen very frequently. We'll be talking about that and a number of other features about this magnificent film after today's screening. It's our honor and pleasure to have with us Bertrand Tavernier to talk about his film. Now, enjoy Captain Conan. Welcome back to City Cinematheque. I hope you've enjoyed this opportunity to see a fascinating film that gives us a vision of a war that may be forgotten by many, and certainly an arena of the world that has not been portrayed significantly on the screen. Today, to talk to us about this award-winning film is the award-winning filmmaker, Bertrand Tavernier. Welcome back to City Cinematheque, Bertrand.
I'm very glad to be here.
Great. So always a pleasure. So let's talk about, just to begin, the selection of this particular topic. Now, this is based upon a novel.
Yeah.
It's not a novel that's very well known here in the United States.
And it's a pity because it's a very, very good novel. It's one of the best French novels written about the First World War and the moment of that war, as you said, which is, it's not that it's forgotten, that it has been hidden.
Okay, an important distinction.
Yeah. And the book was very popular when it was written, I mean, middle 30s. It was popular. It was one of the first books, I remember when I was 14, which was published in the new, at that time, pocket books, the new,
right.
Those new edition,
right.
not of hardcover.
Right.
I think it was number 12 or 14. And I remember reading it on a train and not sleeping during the night because I really loved the book. And like 30 years later, I suddenly read an adaptation of that book. And all the lot of souvenirs came back. And I went to the author of that adaptation, Jean Cosmos. I had worked with him on Life and Nothing But.
Yes, indeed.
And I said that I wanted very much to do that, but he had written it for television, and for me it was not the right way. So we started from scratch, a new screenplay. And I wanted to do that film for many, many reasons, for the relationship between two or three main characters, right. Which each of them, I think, has an important statement in himself. I mean, the man who became a warrior, a killer.
Right.
The man who is trying to preserve a sense of dignity in the war. And the soldier, the professional soldier.
Right.
I mean, three variety of people. They all have, in the way they are described, they are all of them sometimes right, sometimes wrong, and when they fight each other, they are right and wrong and or maybe both are right, which makes, because the issue is very, very complex.
Right.
And for me, it was not a war film. It was mostly a film about something which is very rarely dealt with. How do you stop a war?
Indeed.
I mean, how can a war be stopped? And by stopping, do you stop a war like you stop a football game? I mean, you whistle, this is the end of the game. Now you come back and you have to go back to normal life. How do you go back to normal life then when during 4 years, 5 years, they taught you how to kill, how to murder people, how to slaughter people, and they applauded when they were doing, and they gave you decoration. I mean, Conan, for me, is a tragic figure. He never asked to be in the army. He was drafted. They discovered that he had strong quality, a way of an authority, a sense of the action.
Right.
So they promoted him. They said, okay, now you will be like in a commando. You will kill. You will be what they were called nettoyeurs de tranchées, cleaners of the trench, right. Which meant that they were killing people in a horrible way, and because of that you will be promoted, you will be decorated, and suddenly one day they say stop. Now it's the end. It's the end. So how do you go out of that spirit of violence? And for me that was very, very, very important. I mean, all the themes in Conan are not only important, not only because they are true historically, not only because they speak of a period which was hidden. Nobody in France knows that the war went on after the 11th of November of 1919. I was in Bucharest. In the cemetery of Bucharest, you have lines of tombs of young French people killed in May 19, July 19, June 19. Those people are never figuring on the monument. They are always forgotten. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people die when they were normally at peace. And I wanted to deal with that. And at the same time, I think that it's not only true historically, it is a film which is very actual. I mean, Conan, I see him every night on television. I see a Conan. I mean, somebody who thinks that he has a power because he has a machine gun. I mean, I see that in Chechnya, in the Palestinian, in Israel, in Africa, where you have those young kids with machine guns, and you go and tell them, now drop the machine guns and learn now how to live a civilian life. You have to learn how to vote. And those people have a problem because they were the kings with the machine gun. They are the emperor of a street, of a little piece of land. And that's, for me, it's one of the themes of Conan which moves me very, very much. And I found it very, very much related to what we are living today. And when I showed the film for the first time in France, there was a Q&A, and a young guy raised and said, I just saw a film about me. I was in Bosnia, and I went through everything your characters are doing. He says, we met the same kind of general, in crazy, mad. In your case, he wanted he wanted a kind of special kind of fish that nobody could find in Romania. In our case, he wanted hot water and a color TV with several channels in a place where to fix the antenna, there was the bodies of 3 little girls killed by snipers. And he said, I do not care, I want my TV. And so he said, I lived through that. And so I was moved by the testimony. It proved that I was right. I mean, when you are right, when you are dealing rightly with an historical period, then the film deals with the present at the same time.
Well, I also like what you said about hidden histories, because how can you learn anything from past experience if that past experience becomes hidden for a whole set of reasons? The whole notion that a war stops and it stops and then it disappears. And part of that is, as we would now say, a matter, you can say it's of historical memory or of the media. If you stop covering something as a war, the war may continue for the soldiers or certainly for the civilians, but it disappears from the public.
Absolutely. I mean, an history is full of moments of which have been hidden. I mean, I learned many of them when I saw the beautiful documentaries of Ken Burns about the Civil War.
Oh, indeed.
You have many moments. I mean, the moments, and that inspired me even trying making a film about General Lee, the moment where Lincoln offered to General Lee all the commandment of the army from the Union, and the hesitation during one night of Lee. I mean, I thought, my God, this is one of those moments where I would love to see in an American movie.
Right.
I think it's such an important issue. What is more important, the state or your state? And
Great. Right. Well, but this also brings us back to what I think is part of the way you make films. You know, you can make films to how shall I put it? To mythologize the common history. By that I mean the official version of how things went. You can also make films to explore and open up doors of understanding like that. And I see that Captain Conan is quite typical of your strategy of filmmaking, but also just saying, wait, who ever thought about Bulgaria and Romania? None of us have been led, except if you've read the novel or you're that kind of person. But World War I is now largely mythologized through, mind you, the terrible trench warfare, which you've dealt with on the Western Front. But, and we don't even think about these other regions where, hundreds of thousands and millions of men perished.
Absolutely. And many people have forgotten that Bulgarian have fought, that the Turk fought at those moments. I mean, everything started in the Balkan. That was a very explosive area. I mean, and it's not the story of a small group of men. I mean, the Allied force were, I think, around 500,000 people. I mean, it's not the story of just lost patrol.
Right.
It's story of people who fought a long war, but as the official people wanted the victory to be in France,
right,
they forgot that part of his story. Right. In spite of the victories, in spite of the fact that it's here that for the first time there was such a victory, which I show the Battle of Sokol, which had for consequence the capitulation of the Ottoman Empire, right, of the Hungary-Austrian Empire, and of Bulgaria. Right. 1 month and a half before Germany. I mean, because the war that was led here, that the first capitulation of the Allied of Germany was done. And that was, of course, interesting me, but the characters even for me were the key things in the film.
Let me ask you about the kinds of research you do for a project like this, because how did you come to visualize this war in this place? Because I mean, it's not something that is easy of access. On that, what kinds of research, what kinds of work do you do with your designer, with your cinematographer, to create this kind of world?
That's a very good question, because the war is not very much studied. So Vercel in his book is precise on certain things, but many facts have never been studied. I will take an example.
Okay.
How do you dress the people who are working with Conan, who are commando people? They were not really official warriors. Mm-hmm. So you will never find any official documentation about them, because they were killers. Right. They were people doing things that the Geneva Convention forbids. So it's hidden. Right. So I decided, like in most of my historical films, to dream and to be logical about that. I thought that if they were asked to crawl, to attack by surprise with their knives, that they could not be dressed like the average soldier, right, which had those very heavy shoes, which had that equipment full of metal. Right. Because on the rocks it would be clinging, they would make a lot of noise, and they would be. So I thought that they must be dressed like the shepherds in the Greek or the Balkan mountain, like the bandits. Right. Okay. They must dress with leather, mutton skin. They must have the same kind of weapons. They must live like the people are living on that land. And that was an invention of that. And many historians said, oh, that's marvelous, the authenticity. I don't know if it's authentic. It's something which I made up just by trying to be logical. Right. And you have many things like that, where we try to make some research, and when we didn't have the facts, we invented. Right. But the film was very much studied by the school of historians, and they all found it the most accurate film made about the war since the Grande Illusion, as somebody said, even in terms of language and class relationship between the characters.
Right, right. Also, one of the things I'm very interested in this film is that while this is about a male culture, about the military culture, it's also a film that's also about how they're interacting with these civilian populations, and also what their view of women is. While there is no single character who has the same prominence as the male characters, the inclusion of their sexual adventures, the brothel, the whole notion that this one building is a combined brothel and official administration,
That's an invention of my screenwriter, which I love, because that was based on something. When you occupy a country, normally all the official buildings are taken by the army, right, the Romanian army. So they must be put in other buildings, those new soldiers, the new administration. So they take any kind of building. Right. I had remarked that, I'd done that in Life and Nothing But, that the administration, as all the land was destroyed, were put in very, very bizarre kind of buildings. And that's something which was true. The administration was put in theater, in churches. Right. So I went on with that. Right. And I thought it was great to have a brothel. The first floor is a brothel, and the another floor is devoted to a tribunal, right, to try to prosecute the soldier. I think that part of the irony of his story. Right. In a short story by Vercel, I discovered
who's the author of the novel?
The author of the novel. He wrote several short stories about the war, because his novel is autobiographical. Vercel is Norbert. Okay. It's Norbert. He is the man who was saved from the violence of the war because he had in him the desire to teach. He had an open door at the end of the war, which Conan doesn't have. And Vercel, in a short story, described a tribunal which was in the dining room of a big hotel, where they were judging deserter. And so you had people dining
At the same time?
at the same time where they were judging somebody who was going
Doubtless
to be
condemning
shot.
them to death.
So yeah, so I saw that the kind of thing I'm looking for. It's things I've never seen in historical film. I'm looking for that kind of detail, and immediately it makes everything more interesting.
No, absolutely, absolutely the case. So this, tell us a little bit about, because you shot on location.
I shot in Romania, actually where it happens.
Right.
Absolutely where it happens, and we had the snow when it was written in the screenplay. We had the snow. We had the snow. I mean, it was minus 20 Celsius. It was very, very cold. And there was one good thing for matching shot. That in Romania, they have so few people to take care of the street. So when you have snow, the snow stays for 20 days, because you have 3 poor women with a broom and which is putting a little bit of snow from the pavement in the street, from the street in the pavement, but they are not doing anything.
Right.
I mean, so in a way, we are fortunate, because when we had snow, we could shoot during 7 days. We had exactly the same kind of snow. But it's true, we were shooting, in many cases, the battle at the end with the Russian was practically shot on the spot where Vercel described that. And that's, and it was moving, because you had an impression of coming back to places where the grandfather of the actors may have been.
Well, also, I was curious about this. I'd asked a Cuban filmmaker once about how he'd created this wonderful atmosphere of this Havana working class neighborhood in the 50s, you know, and it was 30 years later when he did. He said, I didn't create anything. I just went to the neighborhood because it was the same. It really hadn't changed. So how much did you find that was still there, that was usable?
We find, but we had to recreate, because Ceausescu destroyed.
Well, okay.
All that past. I was in a country where Ceausescu had done. I really torn down everything. So we had a few streets which were preserved. We had some memories which were more memories than real building.
Okay.
For the rest, we had to invent, and sometimes to work with, because working with the Romanian is something incredible. Incredible. Just thinking, I mean, about certain moments in the film, I see the nightmare, but exciting nightmare.
Okay.
When they gave us 20 trucks, which were, most of them were not turning left. They were so badly built that they were, and I had a rule.
So you have to design the route to the set with no left turns?
I had a rule that nothing will prevent me of having a shot in that film. I decided that. The truck cannot turn left, so I will use 70 extra soldier to push the truck and to carry it.
Right.
So we very often, they stole all the brushes to paint the train. So at the end, we didn't have any painting, we didn't have any brush. They painted the train with a nail brush, I mean that, and with China ink, not paint. And, and to give a kind of being glossy, we put beer.
Okay.
Use beer. I mean, every shot we had to find
a new solution, the world's first solution to this.
Yeah. I mean, you were coming in a train, and people had stolen the windows during the night. So we were closing the curtain and shooting the scene. I said, nobody will stop us.
Right.
Nothing. In fact, we became close to the people fighting.
So you turned into Conan yourself?
Yes, yes.
The production Conan?
I became like Conan when at the end I wanted to do one of the last shots of the battle with Philippe Torreton.
Yeah.
I had designed a shot with a few boats, machine guns, people. There were no more boats. They had all exploded. I could not find in extras. People were either completely freezing cold or they had drunk so much vodka that you could not use them. Right. So I decided, okay, I will do the shot. I will not postpone it because Philippe Torreton is such in a state that it will be. So I decided instead of making a wide shot, we went into that freezing water and we did that close-up of him. And it was better. That if I've done a wider shot with other explosion, that I was close to him at that moment. So it's a solution which we invented on the spot, and it was all the time like that, all the time like that. After the film, I had a long depression.
But you've come back. You've demonstrated to us that you're no longer depressed.
No.
And I'm going to have to cut you off at that moment. A non-depressed Bertrand.
Absolutely non-depressed.
If you'd like more information about City Cinematheque or about our other programming here, look into our website, www.cuny.tv. You can click onto City Cinematheque or the other programming here. Again, that's www.cuny.tv. Bertrand, I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to have you here bringing, I don't think we get information that can be much more firsthand than what you've given us in the last 30 minutes. You'll always be welcome back here on City Cinematheque. Thanks for coming.
Okay, thank you.
Great. And thank you for joining us, and please tune in again as we take our strolls through the archives of film history. Thanks for joining us today. Bye-bye. The preceding presentation of City Cinematheque was made possible, in part, by the support of the French Cultural Services. Visit www.frenchculture.org.